Go live and you'll be able to hear that, and then I'll just make sure you'll be able to see yourself too, so as long as that microphone's not blocking your face, the money maker, Craig, then should be good. But we are live on the podcast broadcast. We got 2 hours story time with Craig Gass before his comedy special that he's filming tonight and tomorrow night, Unscrewed Theater, which is going to be a fantastic time. GetGass.com to get your tickets and score some. There's still some available. So Craig Gass, everybody on the podcast broadcast, will be live on the FM side here in about 4-ish minutes. But I want to ask you, Craig, every time you do the Gene Simmons impersonation, you say it's Gene Simmons from Kiss, which is so funny. And it cracks me up every time. But there's a backstory to that?
There is. Is this the part where I can curse or no?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure before I told you this. So the first time Gene confronted me live on the air about my impression of him. By the way, I want to clarify, 2 of the shows are almost sold out this weekend. I got to say that.
Which shows?
The first show tonight, 7:00, and the 8:00 show tomorrow are almost sold out.
That's good.
And everything's moving quickly, but those shows are those shows will be done in the next couple hours.
And Tucson's a walk-up town too, so I'm sure all 4 shows will sell out, which is great. Okay.
But the Gene Simmons thing was he confronted me live on the air, and the day that he confronted me live on the air was the same day that I was headlining Caroline's for the first time, which is a big deal for a comedian. Caroline's Comedy Club used to be this big comedy club in time.
Is it not around anymore? Caroline's?
It closed down about a year ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, it closed down about a year ago. By the way, it threw me when I went to go shopping last night. I was like, I should get some jeans while I'm here, man. So I want to wear some new jeans.
Yeah.
And I went to head to the Foothills Mall, and I'm like, the Foothills Mall is closed? When did that happen?
And torn down. Yeah, they're turning it into one of those work, live, play places where it will have entertainment, but then it'll also have apartments, and it'll also have offices.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they're keeping the movie theater, and then it's
so the movie theater's still there, and
the movie theater's still there, active, and they're gonna build around it.
Wait, the one on Ina you're talking about? Yeah. I didn't know that. Well, dude, for when I moved down here, there was only the Ross
3
and the
stores.
AMC and one restaurant in the food court still operating. And I would go to that. It was a pretzel spot, and I remember going and getting pretzels before watching a movie one day.
Yeah, I had Mrs. Fields cookies too.
Yeah, well, that was already shut down. So I get the pretzels. I go watch the movie. I feel sick. 2 days later, I see a report in KOLD that they shut it down because of health hazards, and they showed the most sickest, grotesque black mold.
So gross. Yeah, and it was like 2 years ago, because again, super empty. Me and my friends were like, hey, let's go skating. Because we roller skated and we were in the parking lot, but then we actually went inside because I was like, they don't have any. Yeah, we got the cops called on this.
So they're keeping the movie theater?
Yeah, they're keeping the movie theater, and then they're tearing everything else down. And there's some crazy, because I know somebody that's trying to get in there to build out crazy salon suites and all these other things. It is insane what the plan is going to be, but this is where malls are going now, is these kind of multi-use. Yeah, exactly.
You see that around new stadiums around the country, where it's like, all right, here's a brand new stadium, then here's a big entertainment complex, and there's apartments in there, and then there's movie theaters, and here's a new concert venue, here's a House of Blues type place, and
they've got it outside the Cardinals Stadium up in Phoenix. I'm in Glendale. It's crazy.
Yeah. So then, and by the way, not only the Foothills Mall closing down, but I've been driving past places where I'm like, oh, I used to party right here. There's I know these spots where we used to go out in the desert.
Yes.
And which is such a unique Tucson thing.
It's an Arizona thing.
It's okay. It's
because growing up in Phoenix, West Side, same thing. All the desert spots that we used to party at are now churches or developmental housing,
suburban.
Yeah, they're full blown.
Yeah, there was and they had nicknames. There was a place off of
where's some crossroads that you partied desert partied at back in the day?
There was a few of them. There was one off of First that everybody called Limp Dick because there was a cactus that was dying that was kind of off to the side.
That's a good party spot sound.
Name. And that then there was a desert place near where I live that I would always end a night with someone and be like, oh, let's see if we can maybe this is a cool place.
Yeah.
And
that was your go-to spot.
All the condoms are already there from the last. Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible. Listen, I don't.
The 90s.
I don't know what it was about Tucson. Tell me. I thought either I went to the coolest high school ever.
Was it Amphi?
Yeah. Or this is just a really promiscuous town.
really promiscuous town.
That's what I thought.
See, like I was in high school.
Yeah, I mean, she fucks 3 people every night.
Yeah, I came in like when I was growing up.
Yeah, you did.
Shut up. I kind of reached the high school age in early 20s, like in the 2000s. So like I was at the very tail end of getting into the scene for different things like 4th Avenue and downtown. And like you said, the desert parties and everything. But I was like at the tail end of it. But I still hear stories. Like I'll be talking to somebody like at the Wench. And they'll be telling me about all the crazy stuff that would happen on 4th Avenue. And then how nice just south of downtown is and how they redid all the houses.
You're kidding.
And my partners will be like, oh my God, it's so gorgeous down here. I was like, you don't understand this. These were all abandoned 30 years ago.
Whoa. Yeah. There's also Tangerine was a big place. We'd go all the way out to Tangerine and you'd have a map that would get passed around school. This is crazy to think about. A bunch of kids in the middle of the desert with cocaine, methamphetamines, weed, and alcohol, and just lighting fires.
Right, and you had to call a phone number to figure out who's got the maps. It was a whole thing to get you to like the desert raves.
And the map would be like exit on Tangerine Road, make a right, and go 2.5 miles until the 3rd cattle crossing grading thing.
Yes.
Make a left, and then follow that to the left, and then to the right, and it'll go out into the middle of the desert, and you would find a bunch of kids out there.
You would always find a spot too.
Right.
Crazy.
Hold on, weirdo.
Yeah.
Let me get to some comments here, comment questions before we go in there as we're reminiscing. Couple people have questions since your last appearance, Gas, on Wednesday, and they're asking right now. Mecca wants to know: did you live with Mitch Hedberg?
Mitch Hedberg was my first roommate. I've had 2 famous roommates. The first one was Mitch Hedberg. He was my first roommate in New York, and the other was Eddie Van Halen. I lived at Eddie Van Halen's house back in 2004 for the first half of
when you were notoriously partying before you really got into stand-up comedy, but were you still partying hard then when you were living with Mitch Hedberg?
I had just gotten sober. And
what a terrible roommate to have when you're sober, right?
Well, I just got I got sober for the first time, and I just checked. I actually talked about this with John Mulaney about I checked myself into a rehab in Seattle for the first time, and I didn't know that it was a gay rehab. I unintentionally checked into.
Aren't all rehabs gay? No, I'm just kidding.
It was a gay rehab.
You try hard enough.
Yeah.
It ended up being the best place I'd ever been to. It wasn't gay and lesbian exclusive, but it was gay and lesbian friendly.
Right.
And best place I'd ever been. Most sensitive people I'd ever met, and I really needed that at that time. And then I moved to New York, and I didn't tell Mitch what was going on, and I relapsed living with Mitch. And I remember one day he came home. Oh no, I came home from job hunting, and Mitch goes, "Oh, hey man, I'm sorry about I'm sorry, man. I was just I saw you had some books. I was just trying to look for a magazine." And I go, "Oh, that's fine." And I saw like at the top of my duffel bag, there was like some magazines and books out. And I go, "Oh, that's cool." And he goes, "Yeah, I wasn't snooping, man. I just wanted to read one of your magazines." I go, "Oh, that's fine." And I looked and I saw on top was my AA book. And I was like, "Oh, shit." And I felt and I still was
like you were busted.
I was busted. And I was waffling at that time. Like, do I have a problem or do I not have a problem? I don't know if I have a problem or not. And I was like, and we just didn't talk about it because I was clearly already drinking again by the time I got back there, even though alcohol wasn't my problem.
Right.
Like cocaine was my problem.
But you drink enough alcohol, it's easier to relapse with cocaine, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a gateway.
And the thing that's really fucked up about it is when I got clean, I had a heart attack, which scared me.
At what age?
At 32.
Jesus Christ, man. We're going to be on the air here in about 30 seconds. But yeah, to have a heart attack at 32, you got to be going real hard.
And then I got clean. That scared me straight for a year. Then I relapsed for a year. And then I got sober. And in the first year that I got sober, 7 of my friends died.
Wow.
All comedians, 4 drug overdoses and 3 drinking and driving car accidents.
And Mitch being one of them?
Mitch was the first. He died either March 30th or March 31st. But the news didn't hit until April 1st, and people thought it was an April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I remember that. We're getting back on the air. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to the show. We're live on the podcast broadcast. We're doing 2 hours with Craig Gass, who has 2 shows tonight and 2 shows tomorrow night. Yeah, talking about living with Mitch Hedberg. I was one of his famous roommates that he had in the past, and then dealing and getting living with sobriety, trying to become sober during a time where there's temptation all around you. Being young in New York, up and coming comedy scene, much like the rock and roll scene, is temptation everywhere. Yeah, and so
listen, I when we go back to the podcast again, I want to talk more about Mitch and more about living with Eddie Van Halen. But I want to tell a funny story here on the air about how I really, really creeped out Seth MacFarlane in my first recording session
with Family Guy. Okay, yes.
I get offered this gig to do Family Guy and American Dad.
Real quick, now, what are some of the characters that you do on Family Guy? Are they like celebrity voices that you
celebrity voices? Okay. They asked me to they asked me to be a utility guy.
Yeah,
they
perfect.
just random celebrity voices. And the way it's been explained to me is that if they go to a celebrity and go, "Hey, we wrote this thing about you. Would you be willing to do this?" And if the celebrity goes, "I'm not saying that," they'll go, "Okay, Craig."
Yeah,
and we got this guy. We've replaced you.
And I'll come in, I'll learn it, and then I'll go and do it. My first recording session was with Seth MacFarlane, and I was so I've been lucky every TV show I've been on. I left Tucson hoping oh man, I would love to do stand-up comedy. And it took years and years, and it started to slowly click. And I ended up doing King of Queens. I did Sex and the City. I did something really graphic on Sex and the City. And then I ended up on Family Guy. And Family Guy was the first show I ever did that I was a fan of.
Yeah.
And so when I get in, it's just me and Seth MacFarlane in the recording studio. And I'm so nervous that every time he makes a joke, I laughed a little too hard. He'll make a joke and I go, and he goes, "Relax."
Right.
And I go,
you're right, Joe.
What season is this? Is this
about
3-4 in where it's already established?
Oh yeah, no. This is
huge.
This is about 10 years ago.
Yeah, so you know who he is. He's already on top of his game.
Oh,
he's already released Ted, and he's making moves in Hollywood. Yeah.
And he goes, "Come on, let's just bang this out real quick." And he's running the board, and the whole recording session lasted 5 minutes. It was just Seth MacFarlane kept doing this one line as Peter Griffin. We kept saying, "This is crazier than when Al Pacino was a slumlord laundromat tenant." And then they cut to me as Al Pacino, surrounded by a bunch of broken down washers and dryers, going, "You're out of order." "And you're out of order. And you're all out of order." And we did that 3 times. And then Seth MacFarlane goes, "All right, man, I think we're good." But I'm nervous because I think in my mind that we're going to be friends now. So I stood up and I go, "All right, so you want to hang out or what do you mean hang out?" And I go, "I don't know. You want to grab a coffee or something?" And he goes, "I got to work." And I said, "Okay. Do you want me to leave?" And he goes, "Yeah, get the hell out of here." I'm sorry. I grabbed my papers and I walked out. They didn't call me again for 6 months. And then Linda, the casting director, started calling me and saying, "Hey, Craig, can you do this voice if I give you this assignment?" And I was like, "I can do whatever you want. I can do whatever you want." And they started sending me auditions again. And every time I would get the part and I'd go in to record, Seth MacFarlane's never around.
Not even in the building.
It's always this guy, Mike Henry, who does the voice of Cleveland and the creepy old guy. And every time I see Mike, I go, "Hey, Mike, is Seth around?" And every time I see him, he goes, "Don't worry about Seth. We'll get you out of here real quick." We'll get you out of here really quick.
Have you seen him again since?
Haven't seen him again since, but I did a show.
How creepy did you give him a look? You invite this dude to Starbucks, essentially. What was the look you were giving him, dude?
Thought we're friends, right? Aren't we friends now because we're working together?
You get there. You were jumping the gun, dude.
Linda's cool to me. I just did a show at Jimmy Kimmel's in Vegas, and she showed up at my show in Vegas, and but yeah, Seth MacFarlane, dude, I get excited about people, man. I get excited about people, and I tend to, I tend to go a little nutty about it,
Apparently so. Well, I mean, you made a good career out of it, and you might recognize Craig Gass's name if you're a sports fan from his viral content that he does, just going to the Super Bowl pressers. He years ago with Peyton Manning, he did this famous Omaha bit that was everywhere. He just did this bit with Patrick Mahomes.
I did 2 years in a row with Patrick Mahomes, and this year people edited it to make me look like a dick because Patrick Mahomes told me last year because I'm a guy who does impressions, I said, "What is the key to doing an impression of you?" And he said, "I don't know. I sound like Kermit the Frog." And I was like, "Oh, all right."
You're absolutely right.
It wasn't really funny. But he gave me some other funny thing that he did. that went viral. And this year when I saw him, I said, hey, Patrick, last time when I saw you a year ago, you said you think your voice sounds like Kermit the Frog. Do your best Kermit the Frog impression. And he goes, right now, this is it. My voice is Kermit the Frog. And I was like, oh, all right, whatever. And people started chopping up the clip to just the moment where I go, do your best Kermit the Frog. And people were like, oh man, the press is a bunch of a-holes, man. That's so rude. And I was like, that's not, dude, he said he thinks he sounds like Kermit the Frog. And like, but yeah, I mean, I told you about my Tom Brady interviews, right?
No, tell me about your Tom Brady interviews, and then we'll go to break and continue our conversation on the podcast.
And dude, when we get to this podcast, we're going to get in some heavy stuff here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Mitch Hedberg story that's too hot for radio, on the Sex and the City scene, and Eddie Van Halen. I'm excited about all of it.
All right.
So Tom Brady.
So Tom Brady, first time I saw him, I was just trying to think, like, what's the most original thing I can talk to Tom Brady about? I said, Tom, my name's Craig Gass. I'm a stand-up comedian. You're so handsome, right?
Yeah.
Like when you look in the mirror, does your reflection ever just wink at you? Like, is it like, and he laughed, and it ended up on ESPN because he laughed. And I was like, oh, we killed it. We're all stoked about it. And then he comes back to the Super Bowl again. And you have that thing where you interview somebody 2, 3, 4 times in a row where you're like, oh, well, what do we talk about now? We've already covered all the basic stuff.
Right.
And then, so the next time I saw him, I go, hey, Tom, my name's Craig Gass. I'm a stand-up comedian. This is my friend, Jason. That's my buddy, Aaron, over there. And we were discussing the 4 of us together as a group. And we were ranking the 4 of us from most handsome to least. Obviously, you're number 1 because you're Tom Brady.
Yeah,
but Tom, who would you rank as number 2? I pointed at myself. Number 3 and number 4. And Tom Brady actually said, wait, who am I ranking? And I go, me and this guy and that dude right over there. And he goes, all right, fan out. And I go, what? Oh, what? And we all started like,
took it seriously.
Yeah. And I didn't do this consciously, but subconsciously, I started sucking in my gut and pushing my chin out for Tom so I could look more handsome. Tom Brady.
Yeah. It's competition now. You want to win. You don't want to be the ugliest.
Exactly.
What was the ranking?
He gave us, I don't remember the exact rankings, but a year later, he's back at the Super Bowl again. And I said, Tom, I don't know if you remember, but you ranked us from most handsome to least handsome. We've been fighting a lot about the rankings. And between the 3 of us, we've actually lost 5 pounds. And I want to know if the rankings have changed. And then he ranked us again. And yeah, dude, it's the stuff that didn't go well that is more entertaining. And we'll talk about that on the podcast side.
Absolutely.
And by the way, if you're coming to the comedy special,
right,
2 of the shows are already about to sell out. But the tickets, if you want to be a part of the filming for the comedy special that I'm doing here in Tucson this weekend, it's at getgas.com. We're doing it at the Unscrewed Theater. 2 shows tonight. 2 shows tomorrow. 7 and 9 tonight, 6 and 8 on Saturday night. Getgas.com with 2 S's.
Yes.
So
it's GASS.com. Yes, we're keeping the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. You can join us via stream on our Facebook page, youtube.com/beefvegan. And coming up when we return, we're going to play a little game and give away tickets for Cage the Elephant. And Gas is going to help us out with that as well. So stick around. It's Rock 102.1. Clear. All right. So let's get into the Mitch Hedberg story first. I want to ask you about actually, before we get into that, there's another comment I want to ask because I have a bunch of people comment on the YouTube. Let's see. We had somebody asking, is your dad's name Joe?
Joel.
Okay.
Joel was his name.
Looks like Cody Hill went to school with you at Amphi.
Okay.
So he says hi.
I went to Amphi for a long time.
Yeah, 5 years. A super senior.
And I still don't have a diploma. It's pretty amazing. It all worked out eventually.
Yes. And then Jesse, our good buddy Jesse Conrad, who's an artist, musician here, said, isn't this Gene Simmons wants to kill me guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a comedy special I've been working on, or a comedy piece I've been working on called I Think Gene Simmons is Going to Kill Me. And by the way, that whole thing, Gene Simmons, I go to perform at Caroline's for the first time.
Yeah.
And someone tells Gene as he's walking out of the studio, he ends up liking me. Like he confronted me.
Yeah.
And then he started talking about like, he seems like a nice guy. And everyone's like, oh, dude, he's the nicest guy, man. He's actually, you know what? It's a big day for him because he's performing at Caroline's. And this is like, he's going to headline Caroline's for the first time tonight. And Gene goes, give me his phone number. And they fucking gave it to him. They gave him my phone number. I see a phone call coming through and I don't pick it up.
Yeah.
And when I check the voicemail, this is the beginning of the joke.
Yeah.
Because he actually said on my voicemail, boop, hi, Craig, this is Gene Simmons. from Kiss. He actually said from Kiss on my answering machine. Like I'm gonna confuse you with Gene Simmons from Pet Boys. I know who the fuck you are. This Gene Simmons from Kiss. I know that tonight you're headlining Caroline's. I know this is a big deal. I want you to know the Kiss Army is behind you, and I support you. That's why I'm gonna be in the front row.
Oh,
Gene
Jesus.
Simmons showed up at Caroline's, brought 6 women with him. And he sat in the front row, and when I started to go into my Kiss material, Gene just leaned back, started looking at the audience. He's talking about me. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. He actually sent a girl into my dressing room after the show. It was Jade Barrymore, Drew Barrymore's mom. Jade Barrymore comes into my dressing room and says, "Hey, Gene wanted me to come back and tell you that he'd like to invite you out to a strip club tonight." And I'm standing next to 2 friends who are huge Kiss fans, and I go,
Drew Barrymore's mom.
Jade Barrymore.
Yeah, partying it up with Gene Simmons, and I take it she's going to go to the strip club as well, huh?
She didn't. Gene went by himself.
Oh, shit.
Gene went by himself, and then we ended up, we get there, and...
So you said yes. You take the invitation.
I said, first, she goes, "Hey, Gene wants to invite you to a strip club." I look at my 2 buddies who are huge Kiss fans, and I'm like, dude, and I go, is it okay if I bring 2 friends? Is that okay? And she goes, "Any friend of yours is a friend of Gene's." And I go, "Oh, okay, great." So we meet Gene at this place called the VIP Club.
Okay.
And we walk in, Gene comes in, and dude, walking into a strip club with a legit rock star, dude.
Yeah.
Like the music stopped and they started playing Kiss.
Yeah.
Immediately,
They started playing Dr. Love, and they escort us to a back room that has a bunch of couches back there. And over the course of the next 5 minutes, Gene ends up on one couch, literally covered in strippers.
Right.
All the strippers are coming in to say hi to him. He's covered in strippers. On the other couch, me and my 2 buddies going, "Yay!" Like we're just
essentially cucking out, watching Gene Simmons.
We're cheering on a real man.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
is he showing off his tongue to all of them too? I'm sure they're asking.
He's just low key, like, "Hi, how are you? Hey, I'm Mercedes. I'm Gene Simmons from Kiss. Hi, I'm Gene Simmons from Kiss. Hi, I'm Gene Simmons from Kiss." You know, and
Gene Simmons does have like Steven Seagal vibes. You know, they're very similar in their kind of personalities.
At one point, through the strippers, he sees me in the corner going, "Yay!" Like, and he goes, hold on, ladies, let me ask you a question. Do you like stand-up comedy? You do, great, because this gentleman right here, this very powerful and attractive man, is the gentleman who does the impression of me. Isn't that something? And all the strippers looked at me, and I went, "What's going on?" And they all went, "Nothing." And I went, "Okay, no, you're right. No, that's right. No, you're right. I was wrong. No, I thought maybe, sorry."
Did you not hear him say powerful and attractive? Come on, man.
I mean, he tried. I mean, dude, there's so many fucking stories about that guy that like you start hearing over the years. And yeah, the guy is just, he's so, I just find him so entertaining. Like there's a friend of mine who works in merchandising. He tours around the country doing merch for different bands. And he ran into Gene at a party in LA, and his wife is like, "That's your hero. Go talk to him." Because like my buddy has Kiss tattoos on his leg. Like he's a hardcore fan.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, "I'm not going to bother him. He's here." And then his wife like pushes so much. She's like, you got, this is your one chance. You got it. And he's like, "All right, fuck it. I'll go." And he walks up. He goes, "Gene, hey, I just want to say hi. My name's Sean. I work for merchandising for this company." And Gene just goes, and he's like, at that moment, I realized, you know what? Fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here. I'm going to tell him everything. I dressed up like you every year for Halloween. I have all the toys. He starts giving the whole story about his whole life as a Kiss fan. And his wife is standing next to him. And Gene is looking at him, looking at his wife, looking at him, and then looking at his wife. And then he finally goes, "Great. Are you done? All right. Now who's your sister?" Unbelievable. Yeah, dude, that guy is a total character. But
so after he let Gene bang his wife, what happened?
So living with Mitch Hedberg was really he's a beautiful person.
Yeah, this is the not safe for radio story of Mitch Hedberg, who Craig lived with for a while.
It's the I just wanted to tell an extended version of living with Mitch. The first day that I moved in with Mitch, and it's one of my favorite Mitch stories, is he was trying to get me settled because I'm gonna have the entire apartment to myself that first weekend because he had a gig. He was leaving for the entire weekend to go to the Poconos, and I'm gonna have this apartment to myself. And so I'm trying to get my bearings straight. He's like, okay, if you go out this side of the building, the red line is over here. If you go out this side, there's a blue line of trains over here. Here's the key for this door. Here's the key for this door. And then at one point he goes, oh, hey, Craig, this is a map of the New York City subway. On the back of his front door was this giant map of the New York City subway, which the first time you look at it is really confusing. It's like a bunch of red and blue and green lines going in every direction.
Yeah.
And Mitch looked at it and went, so that's how that works. And he walked away and I went, what the fuck? Like, that's not, but living with,
so that's how that works.
Yeah.
Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah. The first night, if you're a Mitch Hedberg fan, you'll get a kick out of this. The first time I ever met Mitch, I was starting out in Seattle, which is why I'm always wearing Seattle baseball caps.
Yeah.
Mitch was coming into town to headline, and I kept hearing like there's a buzz about Mitch before he got into town. Like, oh, dude, this guy's like amazing. And so just based on his reputation, I campaigned to be his opener when he got to Seattle.
Yeah.
And they got the gig, and I met him before the show. And I said, hey man, I'm Craig. I'm going to be opening for you. He's like, oh hell yeah, that's cool. And I go, all right, man. Well, I'm going to go do my thing. So I go up and I do my thing, and I go, all right, please welcome your headliner. Please welcome Mitch Hedberg. And I get off stage, and it's sold out. Mitch gets up and he goes, all right, hey, where's Thomas? Thomas, where's Thomas? And in the back of the room, this guy goes, I'm back here, man. There's no seats, man. And he goes, well, somebody make room for Thomas. Or you know what? Fuck it, Thomas, I have a stool. Come sit on the stage. And everyone's like, what? And it gets totally quiet. Sold out room. Totally quiet.
Well,
and then from the back of the room, you hear, like, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me. And this guy walks up on stage, and then Thomas turns around. Nobody knew who this guy Thomas was, but everyone could tell as soon as he turned around, this guy is really high. Super, super high. How much time do we have?
We're on here. We're gonna be giving away tickets for Cage the Elephant. As we finish up this story, but I'll take callers number 6 and 9 right now. We're gonna play a game with Craig Gass. So if you want to win tickets for Cage the Elephant, call 600 KFMA. We're continuing this Mitch Hedberg story on the podcast broadcast, and be ready to win those tickets next to Beef Vegan Presents. All right, continue. Sorry about that.
So he Thomas turns around, and I remember Thomas, he looked really high. And the one thing I'll always remember about Thomas is that he had this leather jacket on with a homemade pin. He didn't actually get a pin that had the logo of it. He just typed the word Motorhead and made a pin out of it. And so Thomas turns around, and he's like super baked, and clearly like the lights are too bright for him. And Mitch goes, all right, well, my name's Mitch, and these are my jokes. And he starts going into his material, and he tells a joke, and every joke he tells, it takes a second for the crowd to get it, and the crowd starts laughing. And then Mitch starts going into his next joke when Thomas gets the last joke, and he starts laughing, which makes Mitch go, ha ha, hell yeah. And then the crowd laughs again. And that ended up being the rhythm for every joke he did. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laughs.
Wow.
On every joke. So what would have been like maybe it should have been like a 1-hour show.
Yeah.
Was maybe 20 minutes of material because there was so much laughter after every joke. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced.
Yeah, it's almost like a wave or something, like a kind of sonic wave where it's just hitting at different points and coming back. Yeah. That is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, we got more. Let's see who our contestants are real quick because we're going to play a little game with them. Rock 1, 2.1, who's this? Shit.
Beef, this is Jose.
Jose, you eligible for these tickets, dude? Don't mess with me.
Yes, sir, I am. It's been like a month or two.
All right, let's see.
All right, so he's in the rotation, but he hasn't won in the last month or two.
Jose is one of my lucky winners and stuff, but we do have a 30-day rule that we're super strict about. And when he says a month, that's not good. 2? Okay, that's better.
It's been more than that.
All right, let's see who you're playing against. Rock 1, 2.1, who's this? Jessica, all right. Jessica, you're going to be one of my contestants. Jose, change your name to Bob.
Bob?
Yeah.
What up, Bob?
All right.
What up, Bob?
I just like, because here's the thing. We have a lot of listeners. We went from last place to first place. We do have a lot of listeners. We have the lucky few, just like everyone out there, every other radio station. I was explaining this to Weirdo this morning, actually, when Jerry won. Every radio station, no matter what size market, has the same issue with what they call prize pigs. And I love you, Jose, and I love you listening, but you're technically a prize pig, as well as a handful of others that get through over and over again. They're like, come on, man, we're trying to spread the wealth here.
Yeah.
But we're back here live on Rockwood 2.1 KFMA, and we got comedian Craig Gass, who is shooting his comedy special at Unscrewed Theater tonight and tomorrow night. You can get your tickets at getgas with two S's.com. And the two of the shows are almost sold out. So run and get those tickets as soon as you can. And it's a hilarious special, and hilarious stand-up, and you could be a part of his comedy special.
And it's all about growing up in Tucson. So you can be a part of it in Tucson when I film it. So
yeah, it's reminiscent.
Getgas.com. Get gas with two S's.
Yeah, exactly. And so we actually have tickets giveaway for Cage Elephant, not Craig Gass, but what Gass does as well, one of the best impressionists throughout the entire country. That's why you hear him on the Howard Stern show. That's why you hear him on Family Guy. That's why you've heard him and not known you're hearing him for many years. He's a generational talent, and we want to use that talent for this game that we want to play. So let's meet our contestants. On line one, we got Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Morning.
All right. Whose blinkers are going on right now?
Mine.
Okay. All right. Bob with the noisy car. Line two, we got Jessica. Good morning, Jessica.
Morning.
All right. So what we're playing here is...
What's up, Jessica?
It's going to be Think Fast. And the way that we're doing this is name that celebrity. So, we got Craig Gass, who's a celebrity in his own right in studio, but we actually have a line of celebrities out the door ready to pop in and just say something to you. You're going to buzz in with your name and guess what celebrity is talking to you. First person who buzzes in with their name can guess. If they guess correctly, they're going to get a point. If they guess incorrectly, their opponent gets a point.
How do they buzz?
They're going to say their name.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
all right, you
so
ready?
We got Bob versus Jessica, and we are ready. So let's get that first celebrity in studio. Celebrity, go ahead and talk to our listeners here.
Hi. I have the weirdest voice in the world. People know me because I sound so weird. People know me for having a cowbell. Pow.
Jessica. Christopher Walken.
That is correct.
Nice.
1 point. Thank you for coming in, Christopher Walken. Let's get the next celebrity
That
in.
actually scared me for a second that it took so long.
I know. You guys got to buzz in with your name as soon as you know which celebrity is speaking. I know. We wasted a lot of Mr. Walken's time. All right, next celebrity. Please talk to them.
I'm an old man who might be best suited to narrate your life.
Jessica.
Jessica.
Morgan Freeman.
That is correct. 2 points for Jessica. 0 for Bob. Bob, are you still playing?
I'm trying, man. I knew the first one. I couldn't think of his name.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's all right. You get back in the game. It's anyone's game. Next celebrity, please walk into the studio. Go ahead and talk to our listeners here.
I'm also a black dude, and I'm horny as hell. I'm going to get you pregnant and drop off a baby on your booty.
Bob.
Tracy Morgan.
That is correct.
There we
Tracy
go.
Morgan.
Dropped one on your booty hole.
Thanks for coming in, Tracy Morgan. Next
That's
celebrity,
crazy.
please talk to our to our listeners.
Hi, I'm an old man. I am a guy who has made some of the greatest movies of all time. I've been in The Godfather. Hooah.
Bob. I'm going to get it wrong. I was going to say, it sounded like Al Pacino for a second, but he said Godfather.
So, your final answer?
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino was in The Godfather. What are you thinking about in The Godfather? We're not talking about the porn parody version. All right, we're all tied up. That's good. Al Pacino is the correct answer.
All right,
right?
I got a good tiebreaker.
All right, here we go. This is the last celebrity coming in. All right, you have to buzz in with your name to guess. If you get it right, you're going to get points. You're going to get tickets for Cage Elephant. If you get it wrong, your opponent is going to get those tickets for Cage Elephant before they go on sale today at 10 a.m. Hope you're both ready. Celebrity, go ahead and speak to our listeners.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am a stand-up comedian who used to be a preacher. And then as I started doing stand-up, I started doing a lot of coke. Oh! I used to do some of the most outrageous stand-up comedy ever in the history of stand-up. And people knew me as a former preacher who loved whores.
Bob.
Is it Mitch Hedberg?
Mitch Hedberg?
No!
That's incorrect, Bob.
Bob, you moron!
Yes.
Oh!
Celebrity, tell him your name.
Oh, my name is Sam Kinison.
That's right, Sam Kennison. That means, unfortunately for Bob, you lost the game, and that's good news for Jessica. You just scored yourself a pair of tickets for Cage Elephant and Young the Giant. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Bob or Jose.
Congrats,
Actually,
Jessica.
I made Jose change his name because he plays all the time, and he has a very successful track record. But Jose, really deuced the bet on that one, dude. Al Pacino not being in Godfather, not knowing Sam Kinison. We've been telling stories on the podcast. I expected better, but that's all right. I know that you'll be back to win some more tickets, and I'm sure that we'll be giving away tickets for Cage Elephant again. I know next week, Robin and Razor will both be giving away pairs. But Jessica, you stay on the line. We're going to get all your info, and you won those tickets before they even go on sale, okay?
Thank you.
All right, and Jose, thank you for playing as well. We're going to hit the reset, keep the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. More with comedian Craig Gass, who you could be a part of his comedy special with tonight and tomorrow, Unscrewed Theater, 7 and 9 p.m. for the shows tonight, 6 and 8 for the show Saturday. Get your tickets directly at getgas.com. We'll be back with more right after this. It's Rock 102.1. All right, now I'm going to get Jessica's information earlier this morning.
Can I pee real quick while you get
Yeah, you're good, dude. Yeah, we're going to do our show open technically, so check it out.
Done right. No nonsense, real and raw, just like you like it.
He's corrupt, he's inexperienced, and he lies.
Broadcasting from a broom closet in the Arizona Lotus Studios, it's Beef Vegan Presents.
Yo, welcome back to the show. It's Beef Vegan Presents live on Rock 102.1 KFMA, streaming worldwide at KFMA.com on this beautiful Friday.
Yeah.
March 18th. Good morning, Weirdo.
Good morning.
And good morning, Tucson. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. We're going to wrap up the week strong with 2 opportunities to win tickets. Tickets for Hailstorm and I Prevail, and then tickets for Cage the Elephant. Cage the Elephant tickets today going to be around 8:10. We're going to play a game with our in-studio guest who will be joining us around 7:30, Craig Gass. He's got a couple comedy shows happening at Unscrewed Theater. And so, a lot of the show is Gass telling us stories in funny voices.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is how we want to end the week. And we're going to have fun. When he's like, hey, can I come in for a couple hours? I got a bunch of stories. I'm like, absolutely. I want to take a mental day off and just laugh. So please bring it on. We got a couple keywords to give out so you can qualify to win $2,024. And, if you're Tucson Unified School District, you're going to want to qualify to win because you need that money.
How would we know that?
Yeah, we know that as parents of students from Tucson Unified School District. Earlier this week, we had, Brittany Battle and Trey Yvonne.
Oh, I don't remember his last name, but Trey's first name, yeah.
Yeah, well, do you remember his first name? Because I feel like I'm butchering his first name, and I think you don't remember his first name. But either way, he won a grant for the... Sorry. Now I'm awake. He won a grant for the Tucson Unified School District, and for purposes of like helping out the kids. Now the school district itself, if you have kids outside of that school district in Miranda and stuff like that, you guys are probably doing pretty good. At Tucson Unified School District, they're bare bones, man. Their budget is like, I don't know, in the negative. Like what they're doing sometimes is questionable, to say the least. I picked up my daughter yesterday, and there was a couple little keynotes that she shared with me. First and foremost, there was a fight at the school, which we always like to gossip about. Like, oh, okay, you got another fight. Was it a good fight? And she's like, yeah, it was between a school monitor and a student. I'm like, oh, wow. And she's like, yeah, I got video too. I'm like, of course you do, right? Because kids always bust out their phones, scream out World Star, and then post it to Instagram.
Right.
So I saw the fight. Now the school monitor and the student were going into it, and I was like, well, which one's the school monitor? Because they're both fighting like students. And my daughter goes, oh, the school monitor is the one that's still holding on to the bitch's hair. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, this is the quickest way to get your job like lost. Like, you don't go to school as a monitor to beat up high school chicks.
Right.
You know, so essentially that's what happened. This school monitor and the student went at it for whatever reason. And, and it was one of those fights that you would assume was amongst two high school students, because when the teachers came to intervene and break it up, the school monitor did not stop.
God.
She held on to the hair and kept saying, bitch, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Yeah. So I think the school monitor is suspended, maybe in school suspension, maybe like, maybe she's expelled.
High school is wild. Like my husband was a teacher, and he was subbing at a high school like art class, and these two girls were just talking crap back and forth. Like they were doing like pottery, and like one was like etching the B word and then handing it to her. And then at the second they left the classroom, they started going at it, and he was the only teacher in the area, and it's two girls, and he's like, I'm a young dude teacher, this is not going to look good, but I gotta stop this. And he said it went on for like a half an hour.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I've shared this with our audience before, as far as being a bouncer in a nightclub. The bouncers in the nightclubs much rather break up a fight amongst guys than a fight amongst women.
Yes.
The fight amongst women are the most brutal and deadly and never ending. And when they latch onto each other's hair, it's almost like lockjaw. It's not getting let go. So, this is part of the TUSD lifestyle, right? That my daughter's become accustomed to. She's a survivor. She's learned how to like kind of avoid, getting hit by miscellaneous punches, which is good. I teach her that. But that's just like scratching the surface. Back to like the budget, the school and this kind of post-COVID generation that they have going on with vapes and everything that, they don't know what to do with these kids as far as how to prevent them from effing around,
right?
From getting high in the bathrooms, from, nicotine, whatever the case. And these kids, they did a bunch of TikTok pranks that led to this. So there are repercussions, and it's not like what the Tucson Unified School District has been doing was out of nowhere just to be Orwellian or just jerks. They're doing it out of necessity. So the bathrooms, first they took away the mirrors, right? No mirrors in the bathroom. So, you can't look at yourself. You can't just sit there, scribble all day, or just put makeup on in the bathroom all day while you're vaping your, Juul pod or whatever. It's not even Juul pods anymore. What are they called?
Like Elf bars?
Yeah, Elf bars. Yeah, that's the popular one. And then recently, just recently, they took out paper towels, right? So if you wash your hands, good luck. You're just gonna have to air dry, and they don't have air dryers. Can't afford that.
No,
you're just gonna have to wave them around like you just don't care. So I mean, that's just part of the lifestyle. Right. So the other day when we were talking to Trayvon, who came in, who was getting a grant for. Actually, it's not Trayvon. It's Tremaine. Don't act like I just
no. I'm agreeing with you.
I was asking you for your memory.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I tried.
Yeah. So, the point is, I hope they get all the grants and get the money. So at least, because I feel like the next step that they're going to do to prevent their bathrooms from getting vandalized, and that's the reason why they're taking this stuff away, because these kids are like throwing wet paper towels up on the ceiling, and it's a pain in the ass to clean those up. And then they were messing with the mirrors, so they took those away. They took away the paper towels. Well, what's next? Toilet paper? Like, I don't want my daughter to call me up and tell me that she wants to go home because she has itchy butt.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that she could do about it. And I feel like toilet paper is going to be the next budget cut from the TUSD. So we got to figure out how to get this district that doesn't spend money on school buses. That's too much. It doesn't spend money on new books. That ain't happening. Doesn't have money for anything.
But at least the decency of toilet paper.
Yeah. Let's
take out paper towels.
Rock 102.1 KFMA. That's an excellent question, Craig Gass. Why did my daughter's high school take out the paper towels? Apparently they were doing like spit wads on the ceiling, and they said, okay, gotcha. Kids, now you got to just dry your hands on your pants.
Yeah.
And then they took out the mirrors because it's like, you guys look too good. Stop staring at yourselves. gotta take those mirrors out. And I really feel like toilet paper's next. You know, because what else are you gonna throw at the ceiling?
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
I had a crazy story I wanted to share with your audience because it sounds crazy, but I have all the evidence, and I'm here to present it to you.
Okay, yes, please do. I love it when people present evidence in a case like this. You just recalled this memory because you walked by Mix and you heard Maroon 5?
Maroon 5.
Okay.
There is a prank being played on Adam Levine that was inspired by me indirectly. Someone who loves my comedy is playing a prank on Adam Levine right now, and it's because of a story that I've told on stage a few times. I'm actually not supposed to tell the story.
Yeah.
So I won't say who it's about. I'll just say that this band, without question, one of the top 5 heavy metal bands of all time from the early days of MTV. If you're to name like the biggest heavy metal bands when MTV first started,
you're like hair heavy metal.
Yeah, when MTV first launched, there was a couple of like big heavy metal bands they play all the time. I'm not going to answer, but I'll just say it's one of the top 5 heavy metal bands of all time.
That's fine. We kind of have a ballpark where we're thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
And friends with the singer, and the singer told me a story once that he did say to me, "Don't ever tell this story," because I was so blown away by it.
Yeah.
And the story is that this band was on a festival tour of Europe. The headliner was AC/DC.
Okay.
Brian Johnson, singer of AC/DC, walks into the band's dressing room to say hello. The band, naked. They're getting ready to go on stage. They're putting on like their stage clothes. They're getting ready to go on stage.
All bands naked at the same time, though? That's weird.
They're like, bands put on like leather and, whatever. So they get ready to go on stage. And Brian Johnson is apparently this incredibly warm social person. He's working the room and he's saying hi to everybody. He's making eye contact, looking around the room, and he looks over the drummer and he starts staring at the drummer before he walks over and goes, "Hey man, did you know you've got a giant penis on your back, man?" And the guy goes, "What are you talking about?"
On your back?
He goes, "Your tattoo. It's a big penis." And the drummer explains, "It's a dragon. It's an angry dragon." He goes, "I know it's a dragon, but look, you got 2 testes on the bottom and you got big chest on top." And now the whole band looks at him and goes, "Whoa, hold on." And they all start taking out their camera phones and they all start taking pictures and they go, "Dude, look at this. Hold on. See how it looks like you got 2 testicles right down here. And then now the drummer's looking at the tattoo for the first time going,
oh no,
what the hell?"
Yeah.
When his singer looks over and goes, "Dude, I'm not trying to be a jerk. All right. Like I'm really looking at your tattoo for the first time. And I got to be honest. It does not look like your dragon is breathing fire."
Yeah.
It's spraying all over you.
Yeah.
All over your back. He thinks the band is messing with him. And he goes, "Shut up. Come on. It's time to go on stage. Let's go rock. I'm going to put my shirt on. All right, let's go."
Yeah.
But he knows what he saw. And he's in front of 60,000 people just self-conscious about what's going on in his back. He calls the tattoo shop the next day in the United States, which is located in Staten Island. And if you know anything about New York, that's perfect.
Yeah.
He calls the tattoo shop and goes, "Hey, you think it's funny you're putting a big penis on me? Is that funny to you?" And this is what he hears from the tattoo shop. We had a lot of problems with that guy. We apparently he was putting penises on people.
Oh no.
And we sat him down a few months ago. We actually sat him down. We said, "Hey, be honest. No. Be honest. Are you putting penises on? What are you doing?" And he said, "Can I make a phone call?" And we said, "Yeah, go ahead." And he fled. He this is my favorite line in the story. Guy left a trail of dicks everywhere. Listen, the next time you come back in, all right, we'll cover it up, no charge. That's a big penis you got, but we'll cover up that tattoo, no problem. So the next day, he's got another show day with his bandmates, and he hasn't seen his bandmates in 48 hours. He walks in the dressing room and he can feel everybody's eyes on him, and he walks in and goes, "I got a big penis on me, okay?" Everyone is asking questions. People are like, "Dude, I thought you were friends with that guy." He goes, "I loved that guy. That guy was one of my boys. I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, he did a couple of my tattoos, but we used to party together. I don't know why he would do that to me." And someone who was paying attention said, "A couple of your tattoos?" And he goes, "Yeah."
Uh-oh.
And they all know. And he goes, "Yeah, no, he did my dragon, but he also did my Jesus on my leg. He did, and they all froze, and he went, and he undoes his pants and pulls his pants out. And they're all staring at the tattoo. The drummer is the first one to notice. He goes, "Oh my God!" He had no idea he'd been walking around for years with a tattoo of Jesus. Aroused.
Oh, so it wasn't Jesus that was in the shape of a penis.
No,
it was. They showed it was Jesus tattooed with a boner.
He has risen.
Wow.
It was and that story I've told on stage. There is a guy who makes guitars for rock stars.
Yeah.
Adam Levine says, "Hey man, can you get a guitar for me? I want you to make it with these specifications." And the guy goes, "Absolutely." And he makes a guitar, and it's kind of a joke. He puts a joke on the guitar and then sends it out. Calls one of the employees for Maroon 5 and says, "Hey dude, I haven't heard from you guys in a while." And they're like, "Yeah, what's up?" "I sent you a guitar." And he goes, "Oh yeah. No, Adam loves it, man. He plays it every night on stage." And he goes, "Did you look at it?" And he goes, "No, why? What's up?" "Oh man, I feel bad about this. You know that comedian Craig Gass that does the joke about the penises? Dude, that guitar is covered in penises." And he's like, "What?" And he goes, "No, the flower guitar." He goes, "Those aren't flowers." And the guy sent me all the pictures. I not only have pictures of the guitar, I went to go see Maroon 5. I have video of Adam Levine playing this guitar on my Instagram at Craig Gass Comedy.
I'll pull it up.
Craig Gass Comedy with 2 S's.
I love it.
The first thing you see is a video of Adam playing the guitar. Then go to the next shot. The next shot is a picture of the back of the guitar. And then if you zoom in, that guitar is covered in penises. Absolutely covered in penises. In fact, it's a bunch of sunflowers. The sunflowers are hairy. Like the sunflowers are you could tell like it takes you a second, but you got to zoom in on it. But at Craig Gass Comedy with 2 S's, and you'll see this prank that's being played on Adam Levine right now. He's playing a giant penis guitar.
We're going to be looking at that right now on the podcast broadcast stream as well. You can join us youtube.com/bfegan. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. Getgas.com for tickets.
And I'll tell you what, if you come out to the shows this weekend, I'll tell you who the band was, who the drummer had the big penis on his back. Getgas.com. Get Gas with 2 S's for the comedy special we're filming this weekend.
I love it. We're going to keep the conversation moving. Be back with more with Craig Gass after these words and music from Perfect Circle and Metallica on Rock 102.1. All right, I got it pulled up right here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I gotta see this.
That first one, the first post.
Yeah, I see it. It's pinned. Yeah. And he still doesn't know yet, huh?
He has no idea.
Okay, so this is him playing it from afar, right?
That's the guitar.
Jamming out.
It's a pink guitar.
Yeah, pink guitar, flowers on it.
Yep. And the flowers are on the back. All right. So that is this guitar. Okay. There's the flowers. Now go to the next screen. Penises are sticking out of all the flowers. There's dicks everywhere on that thing.
Did he not? He's gotta have known.
No. Look at that.
Oh,
that's very dick-like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from far, there's dick right there. Right there.
There's dicks on the other side. There's there's a bouquet of dicks on the right side there. And then the sunflowers are hairy balls. There's like pubes. Yeah.
You can tell those are hairy balls, weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That is. Isn't that amazing?
That is so good. And he loves it.
Yeah. And it's been confirmed. Adam Levine does not know this.
He doesn't know this. And the part that I keep leave out is that there's another thing involved in this story. He's the one who fed me all the details, and then when I went to the next show, I took all the pictures.
You're saying Adam still doesn't know, even after all this, even post? Wow.
No, because I know the people that are involved that made the guitar, the people who received the guitar, and it's never been spoken about. And the guy who sent the guitar, the guy who actually made the guitar, feels bad because he's like, well, if you tell him now, I'm going to look like a dick. Because now it's been a few months, and it's like, oh, well, you made me look like an ass. So he's not saying anything about it. But yeah, that guitar is covered in penises.
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Hey, can I tell the Eddie Van Halen story?
Yes, please.
It's a perfect story for the podcast.
Yeah.
I ended up living at Eddie Van Halen's house.
With Eddie or just at his house?
Eddie lived in there was four there was a mansion.
Okay.
An original house.
So like a compound?
Yeah, it's like a compound. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a big. So what happened is he had a house that he lived at with Valerie Bertinelli, which is now all storage.
Okay.
And then next to that is this apartment complex looking structure. And that's the 5150 studios where they recorded all the Van Halen albums.
Yeah.
And then he bought the property next door and then demolished the property, had them regrade the earth, and they built a mansion and a guest house there. And so it's all one big property, and they have golf carts to get around. And the golf carts, by the way, have license plates that were thrown on stage over the years by fans.
Oh, nice.
So it's all these different states,
That's
license plates that say 5150 or Van Halen rules or, stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it started with a concert that I went to in Los Angeles. There's this guy that I knew who works for, what is the name of that guitar company? They make guitar picks. And I collect guitar picks.
Yeah.
It's the only hobby I've ever had besides cocaine, obviously, was collecting guitar picks. And this guy said, I saw him backstage at the show, and he's a huge Howard Stern fan. And so he wants to do me a solid by introducing me to all these people backstage. And then at one point he goes, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna introduce you to this guy. Don't tell anybody. This guy lives with one of the biggest rock stars on the planet. Don't tell him I told you that. And he goes, Maddie, hey dude, this is Craig. I don't know if you're a fan of Howard Stern or if you watch this TV show or that TV show. This is my comedian friend, Craig Gass. And this guy goes, dude, I'm your biggest fan. I go, get out of here. And he goes, dude, and he starts naming shows that he's seen me do before.
Nice.
So we ended up just hanging out and just talking. We exchanged phone numbers, and we made a plan to go bowling a week later. And he showed up at the bowling alley with Eddie Van Halen. And then I realized, oh, okay, so this guy is Eddie's assistant. He lives in a guest house on the property where Eddie lives. And he's such a huge Howard Stern fan that he gets up every morning at 5:30 in the morning to go up to the studio, and he turns on the Howard Stern show, and he listens to all 5 hours of the show every day.
Oh, it's P1, yeah.
Wow.
While he's doing work in the studio.
Right.
And when I appeared on the show, he starts telling Eddie, like, dude, there's this guy on the show who does like a crazy Paul Stanley impression. And then a week later, like, dude, the same guy does a Lars Ulrich impression. And then a week later, oh my God, that same guy does a Tracy Morgan impression. And then on and on and on.
Yeah, yeah.
So at the bowling alley, Eddie is telling my whole life story. And he's smoking a cigarette. You're not supposed to be smoking in the bowling alley. And he's like, dude, I know exactly who you are. I know all about you. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. And he's telling me these stories that one of the stories was, I told a story on the air about how I've been broke my whole life.
Yeah.
And all I've ever wanted, once I started making money, all I've ever wanted to own was one of those illegal cable boxes. That's all I've ever wanted, was an illegal cable box that unscrambles all the channels.
Uh-huh.
And Eddie Van Halen was like, dude, he goes, I heard you broke your whole life. He goes, me too. I grew up in the ghetto, dude. And I always heard that you always wanted a legal cable box. Is that true? And I said, that is true. I said that on the air. And I actually have an illegal cable box. And he said, that's crazy. Cause, and he looked both ways and he went, I got a legal cable box too. And I go, are you serious? And he goes, yeah. He goes, the thing is, I'm fucking rich, but don't want to pay for cable. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? And so I had this crazy.
He was a gangster. He wasn't rich his whole life. He made it at like age 18. So, first 18 years is rough, but yeah.
Well, I think if you're broke at the beginning of your life, you just understand the value of money, and if you can get stuff for free, why would you pay for it? If you know how to get it for free.
Right.
And so over the course of the next year and a half, me and this guy, Maddie, would hang out. And sometimes it would be at the recording studio. I'd come over to the 5150 studios and we'd hang out, and then Ed would show up. And then I got in a bad relationship, a really toxic relationship that ended horribly one night when we were at this party in LA. I left for a few minutes to go pee, and when I came back, she was making out with a dude at the bar, and I just sat there and I just watched her, just waiting for her to see that I was there.
Yeah.
And then she finally went, oh my God, this is my boyfriend. And I was like,
holy fucking shit.
And then I walked away and I called Maddie, and Maddie goes, dude, hold on. Ed wants to talk to you. And Ed goes, dude, I told you she was a skank. And I go, yeah, well, I mean, you know, and he goes, and you're living with her. Why are you living with this girl? And I go, she's the only person I know besides you guys. And he goes, dude, bag up your stuff, move in with me. And I said, is that okay? And he goes, yeah.
That's amazing.
You can stay in the recording studio. Stay as long as you want. The only thing is, don't tell anybody, but the band's getting back together. So it's going to be noisy at night. And I was like,
fuck yeah.
So the only thing I have to worry about is the fact that Van Halen is going to be playing in the next room.
Right.
And he goes, well, I know it's your first TV show, or you're working on a TV show. It was my first episode of this TV show called Las Vegas that I was doing with Alec Baldwin and James Caan.
Okay.
And so I ended up moving into that studio, and the first few weeks of living in that studio, I was hanging out on that TV set all day, every day, telling jokes to Alec Baldwin and James Caan.
Yeah.
And every night I'd come home and Eddie'd be in the next room, and I'd knock on the door and go, hey man, I just got home. Is it okay if I listen for a little bit before I go to bed? And every night he'd go, dude, I'm fucking lonely. Come on in. And I'd listen to him play guitar. And how much time we got before you're back on the?
We got about 5 minutes ish.
Okay. The one funny story that stands out about that time is in March of that year, Metallica did a couple of nights at the Forum. And this is after I've opened for Metallica. I invited Maddie to come with me to see Metallica.
Yeah.
And I met a nice girl at the show who we were like, just felt like some kind of chemistry. We're texting each other. And at the end of the night, it was like midnight. I got back home and she called me and said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I just got home. What are you doing? She goes, I just dropped off my friends. You want me to come over? And I went,
yeah,
sure. Oh, I don't know. Let me ask. I don't know if that's okay. Let me find out. And she goes, oh my God, I'm sorry. Do you have a girlfriend? And I go, no. I'm in an unusual situation. So let me just find out and I'll call you right back. So I found Ed and I said, Ed, hey, I don't know if Matt told you, I met a girl tonight. Is it okay to bring her up? I'll keep her up at the studio. And he goes, dude, get some pussy. All right, cool. So I called her up and I said,
not
hey,
gonna C block you.
All right. So I need you to meet me at the bottom of Coldwater Canyon. There was actually a Ralph's supermarket at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And I said, meet me at Coldwater Canyon at the Ralph's supermarket on Ventura and Coldwater Canyon. And you're going to need to leave your car there so I can bring you up to my place. And she jumps in my car. And she's peppering me with questions like, why do you need permission to have somebody come hang out with you? And I was like,
right.
And I don't know how to just go, I live with Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
So I go,
even though that's a panty dropper in itself, that statement.
Well, I just kept saying, I live in an unusual situation.
Right.
And we get up to the house. We go through the back entrance. There's two entrances. There's an entrance right in front of the mansion. And then there's the entrance in the back that's right by the recording studio.
Yeah.
And then we go through that entrance. And then I open the door and I let her walk in first. She walks in and goes, wow. Is your friend like the biggest Van Halen fan on the planet or what? And I go, yeah. I mean, he's, and then she starts going, what the fuck? Like, how do you even get, because there was a plaque right by the bathroom that had all the Van Halen albums and it said Warner Brothers Records commemorating 60 million records sold. She's like, how do you get something like that? And I go, do you hear the noise in the next room? That's Van Halen. This is Eddie Van Halen's house, and he's just letting me get him, like, just stay here while I get on my feet again. And she's like, oh, okay. And to answer the next question that every guy asks, it was like maybe 5 minutes from that point. But yes. Yeah, it was.
Well, seriously, like as a girl, like if I was like interested in a guy and you're like, yeah, you got to leave your car at the grocery store.
Creepy.
Super. I'd be
Creepy.
like, is this dude gonna murder me in the Hollywood Hills?
Yes.
Like, what is happening?
Super creepy.
I just live in unusual circumstances.
Yeah.
What, a basement with torture devices?
I know. You did make it sound more sketch than it needed to be in such a very pimp setup.
Right.
All right,
Are there any other questions coming through, by the way?
Yeah, well, we got people commenting. If you have questions for Craig, go ahead and put it in to the chat there. All right, so we're going to be on the air in a minute. I want you to riff as Lars Ulrich.
Introducing Metallica?
Introducing Metallica's Fuel.
I'll do it as a few different people.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And then real quick, so right now you've lived with Eddie Van Halen, Mitch Hedberg. Any other celebrities you live with? Because I'm like, you should call your comedy special like Celebrity Couch Surfer.
No, I don't think I lived in any other famous people, but no, those are the two. Mitch, who was my buddy, and then Eddie Van Halen, who was just like a surreal.
That made me, I mean, listening to your stories about Eddie makes me miss Eddie. I never met Eddie. We get to talk with his son Wolfgang all the time, Wolfie, and he's a sweetheart of a dude. So we love him, love playing his music. But now I'm like, fuck, dude, Eddie Van Halen was just like world-class dude. What a badass.
Well, there was a PS to the story that's a bummer.
Oh, well, share that in a little bit. We got 12 seconds to the impersonation here of Metallica.
All right.
Hey, this is Tom Arnold. I used to be famous in the 90s, and I'm here with my friend Tracy Morgan.
What's up, white people? We got some devil music for you. We about to play some Metallica, and we brought in Lars Ulrich, the drummer Metallica, to tell you about it.
Thanks a lot, Trace. Yeah, this is a song we all wrote on Coke, so check it out. This is Fuel from Metallica. Turn it up and buy some Coke. Huh?
Perfect.
Nice.
Perfect.
Like a professional.
You couldn't hear it too, but as soon as we said, it said, give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. And then we're going to be live on the air in about 4 minutes.
Okay, cool.
All right, so the PS to the Eddie Van Halen story, that's a heartbreaker.
I found out a year after I moved out of Eddie's house that Maddie, the assistant, was hooking up with my ex the entire time.
Oh, really?
They were together. They stayed together for 5 years. They almost got married.
Really?
Yeah. So it fucked me up so much that I didn't call Maddie. I didn't call Eddie anymore. I just.
Wow.
But a few years ago, I heard that that Ed was sober. So I called him, and he picked up the phone and he goes, "Hello," and I go, "Hey Ed, what's going on?" He goes, "Who's this?" I go, "It's Craig Gass," and he goes, "Hey man, what's going on?" And I go, "Nothing. What are you doing?" And he goes, "Sitting on the toilet taking a shit." And I was like, "Oh, you want me to call you later?" And he goes, "No, man, talk to me. What's going on?" And I was like,
talk me through it.
I can call you later. I mean, and I just hung up the phone. I was like, I felt kind of weird. It's like, there's certain people that I just feel really intimidated by because, like, I won't even pick up my phone if it's a blocked number, because that's either someone I used to do coke with in Tucson or a famous person. And I've been caught a couple of times where I'm like at a fucking Long John Silver's and I'll go, "Fuck, hello," and I'll hear, "Hi Craig, this is Alec Baldwin. I'm sitting here with Andy Garcia and I want to hear your Al Pacino. Can you do your Al Pacino impression?" I'm like, yeah, hold on. Get some hush puppies. Okay. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on, guys? And I'll go outside. And by the way, dude, you want to hear a great fucking story?
Yes.
Alec Baldwin and Al Pacino almost got in a fist fight. That's one for the air.
That's okay. Good. Because we're gonna be on 2.5 minutes. All right. So this is something you witnessed as well,
dude. Alec Baldwin told me this crazy story, and he said that this thing happened. Never had heard this story before. He almost got in a fist fight with Al Pacino. And dude, I can act out the entire fight.
I love it.
I can act out both sides of the entire fight. There was so much tension in it. I wanted to poop when I first heard it. I was like, oh my God, like my stomach was turning listening to the story.
Oh, I love it. Especially since our breaking news yesterday was a celebrity boxing match of sorts with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson being announced.
What do you think about that?
Well, we have a lot of questions, right? First off, massive. If you sum it up in one word, because of Netflix airing this as their first live boxing event, that makes it huge. All over the world, they're going to do this. Having it at AT&T Stadium with 100,000 plus in attendance, that's huge as well. But we know that when it comes to Jake Paul, his boxing career has been suspect, to say the least. It's kind of like carnival-esque and pro wrestling kind of.
Of course. Right?
So the question whether or not it's going to be an exhibition and is Mike Tyson really going to give his all? Go ahead and go out the door. Is a big question. So we'll see on that. It is obviously a cash grab. And Mike Tyson is 57 years old, but I shared a bunch of videos on my Twitter page. I'll show you real quick of Mike Tyson just
working out.
Yeah. In the past couple of years, the guy's still a fucking beast, a monster. Right.
But can we, as people who don't know much about boxing, like if we're just, unless you're a boxing enthusiast, can we see the subtleties to know that Mike can actually hold his own? Or would anyone who has any experience in boxing be able to look at you and go, yeah, that's not really You know what I mean? Like as a stand-up comedian, there are people who go, oh man, I saw this comedian last week and he was amazing. I go, what was his name? And they'll tell me and I go, all right, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
he's funny. He's not groundbreaking, but you thought he was funny,
Right. You're like cliche and kind of, I mean, the word that no comedian wants to hear is like hack, but but yeah, there's comedians out there that definitely make a living on that. He's still super sharp. Obviously he knows what people want to pay for, right? And they're both going to get paid a buttload of money. It's going to be historic, whether it's legit or not. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I am excited just by the prospect of the event, the spectacle itself. We were back here live on Rock 102.1 talking about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, whether or not the fight will be an actual fight or what type of fight is. Legally speaking, it is in Dallas, Texas. They get a little flexible when it comes to the boxing commission.
Yep.
So they might allow it, even though most states would say, absolutely not. We can't make this a sanctioned fight because Mike Tyson is 57 years old.
Yes.
And that's just not safe. Are you excited about this fight?
As soon as I saw it, yeah. I was like, God, the first thing I was like, what is that date? Where am I on that day? Like I was looking at my calendar, like, what part of the country am I going to be at? I want to make sure that I'm in front of a TV that night.
I put in the comments because I post a little video about it with us announcing and reacting to it. I will say that I think, this is just an easy statement to say. This might be the most watched boxing match in the last 50 years. Easily. Globally speaking as well.
Absolutely. And I think the global audience is what's going to make it even more fast. I mean, obviously there's, I don't know what Jake Paul's footprint is globally. I mean, obviously in this country,
it's actually pretty good. And
he's a divisive guy in this country, but
right. The YouTube, his YouTube following is, more than just America. They, the Paul brothers do big numbers outside of the United States as well, for whatever reason. And unfortunately, they've been a representation of America to a lot of cultures for the very first time. So yeah, I think the name does definitely transcend to different cultures, but Mike Tyson, is a name that is like synonymous, like with Muhammad Ali, up in that stature of legend.
Yeah, I mean,
globally,
he's a global guy. Yeah, I don't know if Jake Paul is, but it'll be fascinating. I mean, any fight that Jake Paul engages in, people hate watch it. They want to see him get smashed.
Yeah, and that's a pro wrestling page on the pro wrestling playbook as well. So you love to hate him and you watch him fight just so to see him get knocked out. So how about we put him against this guy who we know is a straight killer, even at 57 years old, and do it in Dallas, Texas.
Which the fact that he's 57 years old makes it dangerous.
Yes.
He could get fucked up over this.
Oh yeah, we're live on the air.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. But no, it's true. And Jake has been training, but he's still a white guy. And he's still not as fast.
I dropped that one with all the energy, with all the energy of a guy who thought he was in a podcast. I am so sorry about that.
It happens all the time because we have a very comfortable setup. Let's speaking of fighting, you have a story because you talk and you're friends with Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin told you a story of one time of him almost getting into a fist fight with Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. I worked on this TV show called Las Vegas, where it was James Caan and Alec Baldwin and I were partners on the show.
Yeah.
We robbed the casino together. And Alec Baldwin would come into my trailer every day and say, can I hear some more of your impressions? I love your impressions. Can I hear some more of your celebrity impressions? And I go, yeah. Hey, real quick. I'd always have people visiting me on the set. I go, hey, this is my buddy Beef. Can you do your Tony Bennett for my buddy Beef? And he had this Tony Bennett impression that you'd go, dude, that is like, it was one of those impressions you go, what does a Tony Bennett impression sound like? And he'd grab like an empty martini glass and go, yeah, I'll tell you what. I used to date Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was a real foxy lady. I once made love to Marilyn for up to 12 hours until the paramedics came along and said, Tony, she's gone. Like, the material was so dark. It was so dark. And then I would do Al Pacino for him. He loved hearing my Al Pacino impression. Then he kept saying, I got to tell you my Al Pacino story. I got to tell you my Al Pacino story. He finally tells me that Alec Baldwin almost got in a fist fight with Al Pacino. And he described that what had happened was Alec Baldwin starred in a one-man show about Al Pacino's life. And the show was scheduled to launch, by the way, on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a full run of shows, they ended up doing a handful of performances and they scrapped the whole thing. But the problem with the show is the show was written by a former best friend of Al Pacino's. And the former best friend revealed a lot of personal information about Al Pacino's life that Al Pacino didn't want people to know about. So Baldwin says everywhere he goes, people keep walking up to him going, hey, listen, I don't know what this is about. Okay. I'm just relaying the information. I did an event last week in Los Angeles. Al Pacino was at. He said the next time he sees you, he's going to beat your ass. I'm just telling you, he wants to fight you. I don't know what is. I'm just relaying the information.
It's just so funny too because Al Pacino's what 5'3" and Alec Baldwin, he's a large man by stature.
Absolutely, and at the time, Al Pacino's in his 60s.
Yeah,
and Baldwin would have been maybe 40s at the time.
Yeah,
so
I would put my money on Baldwin every day of the week.
Yeah, and so Baldwin says, one day I'm in my apartment building in Los Angeles. The elevator door opens up. Who's in the elevator? It's Al Pacino, Beverly D'Angelo, and a real estate broker. They're looking for an apartment in my building. And he said, as soon as the elevator door opened up, Al Pacino went,
oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
Beverly D'Angelo, clueless, jumps off the elevator and goes, Alec, look who it is. It's Alec. We were just talking about you. You're so political. You should be a president or something. Why are we saying that, Al? Weren't we just saying that? And he said the whole time, Al Pacino's just standing there going,
ooh, this guy? Yeah. This guy does anything he wants, don't you, Alec? You just do anything you want.
Beverly D'Angelo, still not picking up on what's going on, starts walking down the hallway with the real estate broker in tow, and Al Pacino just eyeballs him as he walks by.
Getting those crazy Al Pacino eyes.
And Baldwin goes, Al, can I talk to you for 1 second? He goes,
what? You got something you got to say to me? What do you got to say to me, Alec?
And he goes, listen, I know you know about the play. And he goes,
play. You were in a play. Tell me about your fruity little play. I'm dying to hear about your little play, Alec.
And he goes, listen, I know you know about the play, but I just want to tell you a couple things about the play. I wasn't going to do the play for a full run. I wasn't going to do it in your backyard. And most importantly, and this is the truth, I've never had more fun than I did playing you. And that's the truth. And he said, Pacino looked at him and said,
Alec, how in the world can you have fun being me? Because I'm miserable. I am miserable.
And Alec Baldwin said he put his arms around him to hug him. And Pacino went,
oh, Jesus Christ.
And they hugged it out. And they like, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dude. I'm a human being. I'm sorry. And they worked their way through. But man, I was on the edge of my seat here in that story.
Yeah.
On the edge of my seat.
I love it. And you guys got to watch. If you're listening on the FM side, you got to watch back the podcast broadcast of Craig doing these impersonations because, you know, to do a perfect impersonation, your facial mannerisms almost have to like be do an impersonation as well. So your eyes light up like Pacino and everything. We got to keep the conversation moving on the podcast.
Yeah.
But we will continue this and more with Craig Gass, who has 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow night. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 of the shows are selling out.
Okay.
But if you want to be a part of the comedy special taping, we're filming a comedy special here in Tucson tonight and tomorrow night. The tickets are at getgas.com. Getgas with 2 S's.com. It's a comedy special about growing up in Tucson.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. More with Craig Gass coming up next, but you can join us, youtube.com/beefvegan. It's the podcast broadcast. Yeah, so yeah, it is great when you do these impersonations, and it must be just kind of like a subconscious way that you have to tap into your brain. But even, you know, all your impersonations, your mannerisms kind of change a little bit to where you almost kind of look like the person you're impersonating.
When I was growing up, my family, who we talked about, is deaf. My mom, my dad, and my sister are all deaf.
Yeah.
I would do impressions for them that involved no voices. It was just body mannerisms. Like, all right, here's grandpa standing at the window, just like, you know, and I would think of the person when I would do the impression of them.
Yeah.
And the same thing when I do impressions of celebrities, I think of the person and then the voice just comes out. Like Adam Sandler. Adam has he has a nervous, you know, right?
Yes.
And he's got that nervous energy, you know.
I love
and
that.
then Al Pacino
will just stare right through you, like he's looking through your soul. hooah.
I always think of the person first, and then the voice comes through. Tracy Morgan, he's crazy horny.
Yeah,
that dude is crazy horny.
So I always think of the body language, and then the voice is just right there, and it just kind of comes along with it.
Has there ever been a celebrity that you just couldn't nail down, or a voice that you couldn't nail down?
I can't do women's voices, and I can't sing.
Yeah.
In fact, I just had to record a thing that took me a little while to do last night for Howard for OJ Simpson, which I get OJ. I know like the OJ vibe, that whole
That's deep and bassy. It seems like OJ would be an easier one for you, or
Yeah.
no?
Hey, Twitter world, it's yours truly. And I just want to say a few things.
And it drives me crazy. Like, didn't we talk about OJ the other day?
No, we didn't. I don't think we did, or maybe we briefly did.
By the way,
you gotta remind me.
You know what I'm curious about in these comments is if anybody in these comments actually knows me, because I feel like someone in there is gonna be like, I did coke with that guy.
Yeah. Well, so the Chad guy did. Ted Jakonski.
Ted Jakonski is a guy I went to junior high and high school with.
Yeah. So he's been watching along and commenting along, and said, "See you tonight."
I love Ted.
He's coming out to your show tonight.
Fuck yeah, Ted.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me pull up OJ's videos. Let's see how close you can get to it. If you don't know, OJ has an official Twitter page, and he does hot takes all the time, and just clueless hot takes, right?
Yeah, his hot takes are fascinating.
Yeah, representing the 49ers and golf at the same time. I'll also point out you got the Seattle Mariners hat, but then the Minnesota Twins jersey tee.
The only reason I have the Twins on is because it's a Prince jersey.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's good, actually.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair. Because then I'm just like, you can't wear two different baseball teams, Craig. What are you doing?
Yeah, sometimes when I wear this jersey, people go Twins, and I'll go, no, I don't care. It's for Prince. I love Prince.
Yeah, that's
awesome. They did a giveaway at the stadium. The first 10,000 fans get a free Prince jersey. At the Minnesota Twins, and they were advertising it at a Mariners game that I saw at Target Field. And I texted a friend of mine who works for the Twins, and I was like, dude, I'm performing this weekend. Is it okay to get one of those jerseys? And he's like, oh, yeah, man, I'll see what I can do. And I was like, he's not doing it. And then like a month after the season ended, it was like October or November.
Yeah.
He said, hey, what's your shirt size? And I was like, an XL. And he goes, all right, man, give me your address. And he sent me this jersey, and I was like, holy shit.
There's always some extras. Always.
Yeah. That was mind blowing. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, I love that. All right, well, let's listen to OJ real quick and see. You were having an issue on this OJ impersonation, right? Let's see.
Hey, X-World, it's me, yours truly. Boy, what a beautiful day.
He changed it to X-World. The very brand appropriate. Like, I wonder if Elon appreciates.
Hey, X-World, it's yours truly. Just want to say a few things. And
you know what bothers me about him? He'll speak out on things going on in the world. I fucking agree with him.
Yeah, well, he takes the popular stance, right?
He takes the right stance. Like when I've made like, I don't know if any of these things are going to make the light of day, but I've recorded some pieces that are supposed to air down the road where it's like,
hey there, Twitter world, it's yours truly. And I just want to say a few things about this whole Roe versus Wade thing. I think women have the right to choose, except when it comes to what they wear or who they get to hang out with. You know what I'm saying, fellas? Anyways, I think what it comes down to is I don't know where life begins, but I know where it ends. I'm just saying. Okay, all right. Have a great Thanksgiving.
What the fuck? Like, yeah. Like I love that. I mean, the guy is an admitted killer.
Yep.
And
he did say if.
Dude, I really thought that was going to be such a junk piece on Fox.
Yeah.
When it was like tonight, OJ, the interview, if I did it. And I thought, oh man, that's going to be just so like trashy. And I watched it and I got so scared watching it. It was some of the most riveting television I've ever seen in my life, because he switches from like, okay, yeah, so let's just, but if I did this, and then she goes, yeah, you can just, so if I did this, if I did this, I might have, and then slowly as the questions go on, he goes, well, what I remember was, and he starts telling first person accounts, and it's fucking scary to hear this guy walk through all this stuff. And then there's one part of it where the sister of Nicole Brown Simpson tells a story about getting a phone call from the cemetery saying O.J. Simpson's out here and he's yelling at the gravesite, and he's yelling like, "Why'd you make this? Why'd you make me do this? See what you did? See what you did?" And that apparently is a pattern on abusive men, that they blame the women all the way till death.
Even like, post-death.
Look what you made me do.
Right.
God damn it. You're supposed to stay here for the kids, but you made me have to fucking kill you. Like, holy shit, that was scary.
Yeah.
That was some scary, scary shit. But yeah, dude,
brutal.
that's but let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If you are, let's say you come to
If
Vegas.
I did a murder, no.
Let's say we meet up in Vegas sometime in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And you and I are hanging out. Let's say we're at a bar at the Cosmopolitan. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, dude, don't turn around right now. O.J. Simpson just walked in the bar.
Nah.
Are you going to try to talk to him and get a picture with him?
No, but I will, because I don't stand on that. Like, you know, like celebrities and stuff. Like, I don't know. I just don't freak out when I see somebody who's famous.
I don't think it's about freaking out.
I mean, it's an icon murderer, like senile, like moron. You know, I don't know. I'm not a fan of OJ.
For me, I see it as content.
It is content, but I want to get a picture being like thumbs up with this guy.
But I want a funny story.
Yeah,
I would do it for the story.
Yeah.
I would actually go up and tell him some jokes and try to warm him up enough to say, "Hey, it's good. Can you mind just choking me in this picture?" Absolutely. I remember one time being at a mall, this really nice outdoor mall in Summerlin, which is like Northwest Vegas. And I got out, and the girl that I was dating at the time, we got out of the car, and I go, "Oh, babe, there's." And she goes, "What?" And I go, "This." I start. What? She goes, "What?" And I started jogging.
Yeah.
And I slowly got in front of the guy, and then I turned around just to be really casual and go, "Honey, come on, let's." "Oh, hey, what's up? Michael Jackson's dad, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, hey, what's happening?" And I said, "Oh man, can I get a quick picture?" And he goes, "Yeah, make it quick so nobody bothers us." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." What was that guy's name? Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
I take the picture with Joe, and I go, "Oh, thanks, Joe." Joe isn't even 20 feet away from me before I start posting, "Me and my new partner are starting a management team, and we will beat the talent out of your kids. Me and Joe Jackson join our talent agency, and we will beat the singing career into your children." And because it's a story, there's great content in that.
That's true. I actually had a buddy Manny on the stream say that, because I said, I don't care about celebrities, like unless it's like Ana de Armas, right? And even that.
Who's that?
She's an actress. She played Marilyn Monroe in the movie on Netflix.
Okay.
She dated Ben Affleck, but even then, I wouldn't get close and say hi to Ana de Armas. It's hard to talk to her if I'd be like masturbating while staring at her from afar.
So if it was like a hot girl that you were attracted to, that's a famous actress, you would try to talk to them.
It's not even a hot girl if it's like someone at that level, right? I don't even know. You see that level of beauty in person. It's almost like seeing something that's not real, like a UFO.
You ever had a moment where you're embarrassed about, like, you kind of geeked out a little bit too much on somebody?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. I know that I probably have. You talk to enough people in entertainment, that you realize they're just people that are exceptionally good at like something. And, it's something that I find not necessarily relatable, because I'm not exceptionally good at anything, but I realize it's like, it's on the same page. So I don't know if I geeked out. I definitely put my foot in my mouth on something. I'll get back to you on that, I'm sure.
Are we on the podcast side? Or
we are on the podcast side. We got about 60 seconds before we get back on. What about you? Because besides freaking out Seth MacFarlane, and there's people who aren't famous that I fucking weird out all the time.
If it's somebody who's famous now, I'm not that thrown by it, because it's like, oh, this guy is the most famous person in the world right now. I can be in a room with the most famous person in the world right now. But if it's someone I grew up watching,
right?
Like I saw Henry Winkler at an airport and I lost it. He was the Fonz, dude.
Yeah.
Henry Winkler, and if you meet somebody you grew up watching, then that's when you lose it.
Right.
That's because that's a part of your childhood where somebody is larger than life. And then as you get older, it's like, oh yeah, man, they're just whatever. That's just somebody who's famous. And
I probably would geek with Howard, because obviously being in radio and always listening with him growing up, and hung out with Corolla, so I haven't met Jimmy, but Jimmy has heard stories about me. I did stand up for the first time with opening up for Adam Carolla. I sold out at the Tempe Improv, 600 people. Whoa. And I did it for 8 shows. And I was asked not to weeks in advance. And I did it anyways.
How'd it go?
Well, actually, first show, the worst bomb that you could imagine, right? It's a similar thing. I actually did okay for half the shows. Bombed on half the shows as well. But that first show, I was telling a story. We're getting back on there. Rock 102.1 KFMA, real quick. So that first show in front of 600 people sold out. It was like a bucket list thing. His producer, Mike August, Adam Carolla's producer, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Beef, Adam's going to be performing at the Improv. Would you like to host a show?" And, I was working with the Improv for, a couple of years at that point, been to lots of comedy shows. So my understanding of a host of a comedy show is you do a couple minutes, you bring on the next act, right? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I've always wanted to do stand-up. This is a great opportunity for my first time, just in front of 600 people. Let's just skydive without a parachute, right? And so I told my dad and my uncle. My dad at the time said he thought he was dying. My uncle flew in from San Francisco. It was a big deal, right? So word got out that I was going to attempt to do this. Mike August reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Beef, just to let you know, we just want you to just basically introduce him."
Yeah, just go up and that's what I would advise too.
Get up and say, "Here's Adam." And I'm like, yeah, no problem. But in my head, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm already fully committed. I can't back out now. I had plenty of opportunities to back out, but I didn't. So then I go up to do my first bit, and it happens to be the show that Jimmy Kimmel's entire family's at.
Oh, okay.
And when I say his entire family, of course, his sister Jill, she's a comedian, she's funny. But Jimmy's parents and grandparents.
Do they like you?
No. So I go into this story. Now Jill likes me, but I go into this story about taking a D pic and like the Godzilla effect.
That is okay. Every guy who starts in stand-up, what you think is funny is dirty, filthy stuff.
Yes.
But you're not yet able to finesse it in a way that it can go over well in front of anyone. And you really have to figure out a way to make that dirty, filthy stuff connect with people who are even Jimmy Kimmel's parents.
Yes.
That's how you have to figure it out.
And grandparents.
And it takes time to figure that out.
Yeah. Now I'm locked in eye contact with Jimmy Kimmel's grandma. I'm not knowing it's Jimmy Kimmel's grandma, but this elderly lady, she's just staring into my soul. I'm staring back. I'm telling a story that ends up being like 15 minutes, right? So I don't know anything about word economy. Right? It's crickets. You're not hearing anything.
Nothing better than a bombing story.
Oh, yeah. They're flashing the red light at me. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, no.
It's like SOS, get off the stage.
Yeah.
And I'm super blue. And they don't ever want,
you don't want a host to be dirty.
Exactly. You save that for the headliner. These are all things I didn't know at the time.
Best stories are bombing stories.
Yeah.
I have a couple. One was a guy who opened for me in Oklahoma City, kept staring on the left side of the stage while he was on stage. And he was distracted by something going on the left side of the stage, and he finally went, "I'm sorry, but am I that ugly? You won't even stare at, look at me like this?"
Oh, he got so self-conscious. He starts,
and he goes, "Man, this woman won't even look me in the eye. Like, what are you, blind or something?" "Oh, are you blind?" And the whole room just froze.
Oh no!
And this guy made the biggest rookie mistake. He tried to go back into his material, and he goes, "You guys, ever go to Walmart?" And people are like, "Who cares about Walmart? You made fun of a blind woman, you son of a bitch!" And people are screaming at me. He's like, I'm sorry. Nobody's laughing except for me and 2 other comedians in the back of the room.
Best thing ever, right? Yeah.
Best bombing story ever.
Yeah.
Dane Cook has the best one. Did I ever tell you that Dane?
No. Okay. So Dane Cook, of course, obviously was one of the largest comedians in the world at one point. The MySpace era. And
we all started when we all got to New York. A bunch of comedians got to New York to get to that next level of our career.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. We all ended up at this place called the Boston Comedy Club in the Village.
Okay.
And Dane has this amazing story about going up at 1:30 in the morning on a Tuesday night in front of 6 people. One of the 6 people had all of their groceries on the table with them. Because our doorman was a guy named Bert Kreischer, who's now famous.
Yeah, we know Bert. Yeah.
And Bert Kreischer was a barker. He'd stand out front and go, "Hey, comedy show. We got a comedy show. Come on, comedy show." And somebody was like, I got my groceries. "No, give me the groceries. I'll help you with the groceries. No, come on, there's no cover. Just 2 drink minimum. Give me the groceries." And Bert helps this guy come in with his groceries. And Dane Cook walks out and he goes, "Are those groceries?" And the guy goes, yeah, and it's ice cream and it's melting. And he put that on Dane, and Dane's like, oh, I'm sorry. So at 1:30 in the morning, this crowd is exhausted. They're drunk.
Yeah.
He's bombing.
Yeah.
One of the 6 audience members who is hammered gets up, stumbles over to the restroom in the corner of the room, closes the door, and starts violently vomiting in the corner of the room.
You can hear everything.
The other 5 people can't even watch because every 30 seconds you hear, and then there's a long pause, and they all hear, and the guy comes back out, and he's stumbling back over to his seat, and Dane Cook is standing there, and he goes, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? You doing all right? And the guy sat down, and he went, oh, no, I had some bad comedy. And it was like, oh! And people are high-fiving each other, and the guy with the groceries throwing his groceries in the air. And they owned him. They absolutely owned him.
Wow.
And dude, there's some kind of thrill out of that. There's some kind of thrill. Like part of the excitement this weekend of filming the comedy special is I want to talk to the audience and see if anybody knows me. And
they're definitely going to know you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I grew up here and I did everybody's Coke. So I know everyone's going to know me here. And the idea that I might get something I don't expect that we can take a ride with is what I'm excited about when we film this.
Nice.
So, but yeah, dude, what you're describing, I did a show once opening for Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
At the House of Blues in Las Vegas. This dude comes up. By the way, the tickets are almost sold out.
How much do they cost, by the way? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
They're 30 in advance, 40 day show. So now they're 40.
Yeah.
And the tickets are at getgas.com. If you're coming to the comedy special tape, you want to be a part of this taping for this comedy special, it's getgas.com. Get gas with 2 S's.
Yeah, 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow night. A show on each night is actually, I think, close to sold out. So go check them out right now. It's at the Unscrewed Theater. Getgas2S's.com. We're keeping the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. I'm also just getting word that I have a concert announcement that we're going to make after these words.
Whoa.
Yes. So major concert announcement. We're going to find out right after this.
That's
Keep
crazy.
right here. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to look
worries.
at my phone while we're talking.
I know
stuff.
we're jumping all over the place. So
It happens. Yeah.
sorry, like in the middle of the story about bombing in front of Kimmel's family, what ended up happening at the end of that?
So I get off stage, and this is all like, first off, Adam gets on stage and he's like, thanks, Beef, for that, right? So he gets a big laugh. So I go into the lobby, I get reamed by the GM. Reamed.
Oh,
yeah.
Was the GM's name Dan?
Was it Dan?
How long ago was this?
This was in 2010, 2011.
Oh, that might have been Dan.
It might have been Dan.
Short guy?
Short guy, yeah. He was like Mexican-ish or Filipino-ish or.
Oh, no, that's not Dan. No.
Yeah,
okay.
No. Adam was the GM at that time, as well.
Oh, Adam, who ended up at the Comedy Store?
Yeah, and he's at the Mothership now.
And he's at the Mothership.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And he's getting roasted by Ty Rivera right now. Ty Rivera's been talking mad shit about Adam.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Mothership.
Really?
Yeah.
Ty Rivera talks shit about everybody. So.
Yeah. It's kind of his gimmick. But to see him kind of do this, it's interesting to say the least. But
well,
anyways,
check that out.
Yeah. I'll pull it up in a little bit. But okay, so I get reamed in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm eating crow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm bummed. And so then afterwards, I go into the green room with Adam and his buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, man, I'm sorry. And he's like, he gave me some advice. He's like, you didn't give yourself any exits. You told a long story, blah, 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 blah. This is how you fucked up, but I get it. Don't do it again. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then I did it again, and I did it again, but I went a lot shorter. So my next time, once the moral of it was, okay, now I got off and I bombed, and that was the worst thing that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the worst type of bombing. And you've been there. Every real comedian has been there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this wannabe first time open micer in front of 600, sold out. That's how I wanted to try it. Right.
Yeah.
Fight or fail.
Yeah.
And I failed. So the next time I went up, it was stick and move. And I got a couple pops. I got some laughs, and then I went on and introduced. And I did that. So I had a couple game plans, didn't go back in my dick pic story, and it worked out good. And so, but then I'm venting to Adam Carolla, and afterwards he then talked about me on his podcast. At the time, it was before.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
And this is before Joe Rogan and everything. This is when Adam Carolla had the #1 podcast in.
Okay.
in the country, in the world. And so he talks about, Beef, his buddy Laugh Track, and Buddha. So people, he's roasted me based on my attire, the stories I was telling him, and I was kind of asking him advice because he was the love line guy.
Yeah.
Right. So he's ripping into me. And so since I'm so branded and the show was so well branded on purpose, people could just Google Beef Laugh Track Buddha.
Right.
And then went straight to my fucking podcast page. And I was podcasting, and I would have these hour-long interviews with like Bert Kreischer and all these comedians that were headlining the Improv.
Yeah.
My podcast blew up out of control. But
no shit.
Yeah, but I was getting like 100,000 downloads per episodes, but I don't have, you can't, at the time, like people didn't know how to advertise on podcasts.
Oh my God.
And it didn't help me at the time. And it cost too much for me to continue the platform because it was taking so much data.
Yeah.
That I could not continue to sustain it. Yeah. And I couldn't afford it because I was doing radio for free and we're working multiple things. So people talk and so everyone that has a podcast now, they were all part of my podcast. And I was getting compliments back then and they're saying that just how they like the approach to the conversation. They come into the living room. It was 100%. I was doing radio, but it was nonprofit radio. I didn't have commercials. I would sit down with them for an hour. And they would all do the same thing, Gas. And I've told this on the air before, but every comedian would show up to the house on the west side. And you've been to like KWS Studios in Phoenix, so you know this. They would show up and then they would look at their watch and be like, oh, man, tight schedule.
And then they'd hang out.
Yeah. They say only got 5 minutes and they'd sit and it'd stay for like an hour and a half.
How long have we got till we back on the air?
We're back on in 3 minutes.
Okay. I did a show once opening for Norm Macdonald at the House of Blues.
Yes, back to that.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Sold out show. And I'm sitting on the side of the stage and this guy walked up and said, hey, are you Craig? And I go, yeah. And he goes, hey, what do you want me to say? I'm the host. What do you want me to say for you? And I go, just say Howard Stern, King of Queens, whatever, And he's like, okay, cool. Nervous. And I go, oh yeah, man. It's a good crowd. Sold out. It's 1,400 people. And he goes, it's my first time. And I said, first time doing a big crowd? And he goes, no, it's my first time doing stand-up. And I said, you've never done stand-up before? And he goes, yeah. And I go, how'd you get this gig? And he goes, oh, I work here. I'm a bartender at House of Blues. Always wanted to do stand-up comedy. And we get the schedule like 6 months ahead of time. And I saw like when Norm first showed up on the schedule, I campaigned like, oh, I want to open. I want to, and I got the gig. Actually, a bunch of people who work here took the night off. They're just sitting in the crowd to watch here and support. And I go, but you haven't gone to an open mic to like test out the material. And he goes, no, this is it. And I went, good luck, dude.
Yeah, equally dumb. I know. I as much as I would be like, what an idiot. I did the same fucking thing. Are you kidding me? I didn't think I wrote it down. I just mapped it out.
I've seen people do it. I've seen people do it and do it well. And
yeah, smarter, more talented.
No, it's just what it is like in your mind, you have an idea, and sometimes your idea works.
Yes.
And sometimes it doesn't. And that's the whole thing about learning stand-up. There's some things that work and some things that don't. And this guy walked out on stage and he fucking ate his dick for the most uncomfortable 10-minute set that I've ever seen in my life. Like at one point, he started doing that thing where he was like stammering. I could see his pits start to sweat.
Oh no, he started pouring out sweat in real time.
Yeah, and then at one point, he did this thing where he would end the joke and he would physically lean in to the punchline, but there was nothing there. So he's like, he telegraphed to the audience like, oh, I expected you to laugh in that moment.
Yeah, like,
and nobody laughed.
Yeah.
And then at one point he paused and he said, maybe you had to be there. And someone in the top row of the upper balcony goes, maybe you're not funny. And that got the biggest laugh. That was the first laugh of the night. And everyone's like, yeah. And I didn't even know he was standing behind me. Norm Macdonald goes, hey, I feel bad for this guy. Hey, don't make fun of him. Don't make fun of him. I already feel bad for him. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And I was like, shit. And I wanted to honor Norm's request, like don't make fun of him.
Yeah, we're getting on the air right now too.
But I walked out on stage and I went, all right. Okay. Like, and that got a laugh, and that's it. You have
That's
to
all you
acknowledge.
need to do. Yeah, you do have to acknowledge.
You got to acknowledge whether you follow a bomb or you follow Dave Chappelle. You have to acknowledge, okay, I know what just happened. All right. Listen, let's just acknowledge what just happened.
Yes. And then move forward.
And then move forward from there. Yeah. So that's stand up.
That's comedian Craig Gass. Of course, he is performing 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow, and it is for a stand-up comedy special. I do have a major concert announcement that I have to share with you right now. I got permission to give you this information, and all next week I'm going to have these tickets to give away before they go on sale next Friday at 10 a.m. Rock 102.1 would like to welcome, and you're actually friends with one of these bands, Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh yeah,
with Marilyn Manson, live from Talking Stick Amphitheater in Phoenix on September 10th. That's right. Five Finger Death Punch returns to Arizona along with Marilyn Manson. They're performing together September 10th at the Talking Stick Amphitheater. Tickets go on sale next Friday at 10 a.m. But you listen to this show all week long next week for opportunities to win those tickets before they go on sale. So there's your major concert announcement. It's a big one. And you're buddies with Five Finger Death Punch, right?
My friend Chris is the bass player, and I actually know about the date of the show. I didn't know that Manson was playing there because Chris is planning on doing something special in Phoenix on the day off before the show.
For like a birthday or anniversary or something?
No, he's gonna announce something that's happening the day before that show. We were discussing and planning what that thing was gonna be.
Are you gonna be involved?
Yeah, he wants me to be involved. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's wow, that's weird. But he didn't say anything about Manson. He just said, yeah, man, so this is my schedule. And this is like, because he's also coming back to Vegas, which is where I live, which is where you both live.
Yeah.
And he's coming back for that. And
I feel like Chris is always hanging out with our comp DJs up in Vegas.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Like he's a good radio fan and just
yeah. We actually went into comp together. We hosted this event at the Super Bowl called Sober Bowl. It was you could go watch the Super Bowl without any idiots who are drunk because there's no alcohol being served.
Nice,
which is that has a real appeal to it. But yeah, dude, he's Chris lives in Vegas. Corey Taylor lives in Vegas. Sebastian Bach has. I ended up in his music video that just came out.
Yes.
And
was that shot by Jim Laveau?
Yes. From Phoenix.
Yeah. I love Jim.
Dude, Sebastian Bach has the greatest Gene Simmons story I ever heard. He told me about, dude, I went to that guy's house. I went to Gene Simmons' house, and that guy has a freaking Kiss museum in his house, which is true.
Yeah.
He had a whole room dedicated to every piece of Kiss merchandise that's ever existed,
which is a ton.
It's a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a casket in there. There's a lot of stuff in there.
The Kiss casket. Yeah.
And Sebastian goes, dude, I walked in and there's a bag with like 100 Kiss cell phone covers. I told you that story, right?
Yeah, but you haven't told the audience. So
yeah. And he goes, I go, dude, what the hell is that? And Gene Simmons goes, that's our new promotion for Kissmas. That's our new Kiss cell phone cover. Can I have one of those? I wish I could, but if you go to kissonline.com, you can buy as many as you want. And he wouldn't give him one piece of plastic. Oh, I love that story.
It's so good. It is so good, dude.
There's so many stories I've heard about Gene over the years that are just like, he's such an entertaining guy that
inadvertently in a way too. You know, I mean, and just his personality, it's so strong in that, but legendarily cheap, strong-headed. You told about the McDonald's and filet mignon story.
Yeah.
You know, a couple comments here on the podcast broadcast real quick. First off, Lisa wants to know if you do a Norm Macdonald impersonation. You're just talking about opening up for Norm, who legendarily would bomb sometimes almost on purpose.
Yeah.
And he was just like such a fearless comedian. But there's stories from the improv to where people were like demanding their money back, where Norm was purposely being so unfunny.
Yeah. I knew. Well, yeah, he Norm loved impressions, and Norm actually did an impression of my old roommate, Mitch Hedberg. He used to do a Mitch impression, and he did an impression of Super Dave Osborne.
Yeah.
And he loved hearing impressions. And but yeah, Norm, I just remember like we did a show together in Seattle. I don't even know if I should. God, this is a really terrible story, but he came into my dressing room while I was doing an interview in the lobby of this theater, and then when I came back, there was this big commotion, like, "Oh my God, he just missed it!" And I go, "Oh, what happened?" And they said Norm came in, and he just like, "Hey, where's Craig?" And they go, "Oh, Craig's downstairs doing an interview." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Hey, so are you guys his friends?" Yeah. And so, they all start talking, and then apparently he made a really off-color comment to a friend of mine, Pixie, who has all kinds of different color hair. She has like blue, purple, green hair.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Goes, hey, so what's your story? You're from Seattle? Because this is where the show was at in Seattle. And she goes, no, I'm from Alaska, but I moved to I ran away from home when I was 16, and I hitchhiked around the country for a couple years, and then I finally settled in Seattle. And he goes, yeah, what was the hitchhiking like? Yeah. And she goes, that was pretty crazy. And he goes, yeah, I'll bet, with all the raping going on. And then he walked out of the room. Out of the room on that. Yeah. That was that's Norm for you. Yeah, Norm.
She not laughing at that joke?
Yeah. So yeah. Dude, I'm excited.
Just go walk. Yeah, okay. We are running out of time on the FM side. I got to remind you, if you had a good time with us, you're going to have a great time this weekend because Craig Gass is shooting his comedy special about growing up in Tucson right here in Tucson with 2 shows tonight, 7 and 9 p.m. at the Unscrewed Theater on Speedway, and 2 shows on Saturday night, 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Tickets available for one of those shows on each of the nights. You can get ticket information at getgas.com, and that's with 2 S's. And there, I'm sure you can follow Gas with, all the stuff that you got going on.
And if you want to see the evidence of the Maroon 5 guitar, there's a prank being played on Adam Levine right now. There's a bunch of penises on his guitar. He has no idea that the back of his guitar is covered in penises. That's at Craig Gass Comedy with 2 S's, at Craig Gass Comedy. Thanks for having me in.
Of course, dude.
That was fun. That was a fun hang. Thank you.
Yeah, had a great time. It's a fantastic podcast. You guys can watch it back on demand anytime, youtube.com/beefvegan. Of course, getgas.com is the website for Craig Gass. You'll be hearing him on Howard Stern, a Family Guy, and, hopefully be seeing his comedy special and being a part of it
later this
weekend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can be a part of the filming. Be a part of the filming, and then it'll be released later this year. The first comedy special comes out in 2 months, and then the Tucson special that I'm filming comes out at the end of the summer.
Nice. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. In fact, actually, I didn't write out my show. Like I got to just do some leisure time because I'm like, okay, Gas is coming in with stories. It's like I get a day off. Yeah. It's been a tremendous pleasure listening to all your stories and catching up with you again. Good luck on the comedy special, Gas, and congratulations at everything that you're doing.
I'm excited to connect with some old friends, and this is really personal to me, what I'm going to be filming, because I grew up here. It's an intimate show for me, and I know that the room is going to be filled with a bunch of people who already knew me, already partied with me, or already had sex with me.
Yeah,
and it's going to be.
You think the people that had sex with you will actually show up?
Yeah, dude, the last special that I filmed, there's a moment in the show where a girl yelled out, "Hey!" and I go, "What did you say?" And she goes, "Do you remember porking me?" That was her exact words.
Porking.
Yeah. And that's track number 6 on that album. Do you remember porking me? I was what? And then when she started describing it, I was like, oh yeah, I do. I told you. And dude, there's a lot. Yeah. Tucson's.
Oh, yeah. Tucson's small town. No,
it's a promiscuous town.
Yes, it
Thank
is.
God for Tucson.
Absolutely. And welcome back, my friend. All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the show today. Don't forget, I just announced that Five Finger Death Punch and Marilyn Manson will be coming to Phoenix in September. You can win tickets to that show before they go on sale all week long for listening to this show. Robin Nash is up next. You guys enjoy your weekend. Drive safe, ride safe, and as always, rock local. Later.
When you wish upon a side of beef, soon will come an end to all your grief. But if you've been mean or kind of bad, I will knock out all your teeth.